A lot of people that I deal with, often after years of talking, they go, "Oh, you're a woman."
Probably a leader in the industry, right?
No, that's a big call. Try to be.
2 girls?
2 girls, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same.
That 5 minutes can save you a lot of money. Depreciation's something that really confuses people.
How nice is a solo walk without any technology? It's bliss. I cannot wait to let you out into the world because you're going to own it.
Yeah, you're gonna be fun.
Welcome back to another episode of That Backyard Property Pod. Today we have an expert in taxation, strategy and accounting. So I'm super excited to introduce Drew Ratty. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me. I'm happy to be here.
So good to have you. And it's so good to finally meet you as well.
Yes, definitely.
It's amazing you go through this process and you talk with accountants or financial planners over email for quite a long period of time. And then if all of a sudden you get to meet and you're like, oh, this is nice.
A lot of people that I deal with, often after years of talking, they go, "Oh, you're a woman." And then like, yes. So if we've just relayed over email, they have this picture of a man called Drew, and then I come and shock them with a female voice, or yes, shock. But yeah, it's quite funny.
That is good. Well, I guess are you a leader? You're probably a leader in the industry, right? Like there's...
No, that's a big call. Try to be. Yeah, definitely for my client.
MD Taxation and Advisory. Director of...
That's correct.
How did you start it? How did you get to here? Where did you start from?
So I'll take you way back. Yeah. I went through school and I wasn't focused on my academics. I was kind of just in survival mode through the teenage years and just focused on my friendships, which were, my main focus. And so then when I got through school and I didn't do my TE, which is what it was called back in the dark ages, I ended up going to TAFE and I did an advanced diploma of accounting because I liked my accounting teacher at school. So I was just like, I'll go with that. And then from that, I then went and worked in financial planning, and I really had a really nice team. I really enjoyed it, but I saw that financial planning wasn't for me. That industry was just a bit different to my personality, I think. And then I started working in accounting, and straight away knew that was kind of more my thing. And then I worked with my old employers for 8 years, and then I got to the point where I was doing a lot of the work and feeling like I kind of was starting to know my staff and, managing relationships well, and then just being a bit held down with flexibility and, doing things that they wanted me to do rather than what I thought the clients needed or what I wanted to do. So I took a leap of faith and started my own business. And I kind of thought, I didn't know where it would go. I thought I'll have one foot in there and then maybe I'll go teach at unis. I've done a master's in tax. Maybe I'll go be a lecturer, see how it goes. And then it just took off and kept taking. So, that whole career of working in unis never happened. And I've just been running MD ever since. So the last, 5+ years. 5+
years. So you've started MD and then also then became a mother whilst running MD as well. So
I did, yes, not for the faint-hearted. I actually signed my first office lease when I was 3 months pregnant, and I thought, what am I doing? But it all worked out great. So
you've got to have some courage and some tenacity to push ahead with that.
Cojones, yeah.
And now you look back and go, I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no regrets.
No regrets. So we're going to tackle a number of different taxation or accounting questions that I certainly get asked a lot and I can't provide the advice on, which is why we have you in. But I always love starting off with talking about home and what home means to you, especially when you've got young kids that are similar age to mine. What does home mean to you?
Home for me has to be bright. So my home has to be no lights on in the day, all the curtains open. It has to be bright and calm and somewhat clean. That brings me happiness. The kids' toys, it's a given. They're going to be everywhere in the day. And obviously my 2 girls, wherever my 2 girls are, that's my home. But I try to instill like a kind of calm, silly sometimes, but calm vibe, bright, clean kind of that's my vibe. Yeah. That's where I'm happy. So home is that to me. Add my 2 schnauzers in, and preferably my husband as well. That's a full house.
That's a full house, and it's hard to keep that full house calm and quiet.
Yes.
I would imagine.
Quite definitely not, but happy. Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah.
And 2 girls.
2 girls. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. And I know just from our experience, there's especially our 5-year-old is really expressing herself as an individual, and so that kind of calm, quiet house that we also thrive for is not quite what we're getting now, and it's almost embracing that in whatever way it might be.
Yes, the happy chaos and the curiosity and the questions and the never-endingness. Yeah, embracing that, definitely.
And is it like based on your childhood and growing up? Did you grow up in Perth and you're trying to recreate the same sort of family environment for the daughters? Like, what does that look like?
I'm trying to embrace the complete opposite. So I have 5 siblings. I'm one of 6. So through my teenage years, we all lived with my mum. Yeah. So she was unemployed with 6 kids. It was kind of tough living. We're always moving. We moved, 15 times in a space of 5 years. It was just crazy and unstable. And so I'm doing the exact opposite. So stable and happy and reliable and
Do you feel the pressure of that on yourself?
No, I think over the past 15 years or so, I've worked at that, so it comes naturally now. So not really. It's
quite amazing that that's kind of the background, but now you're sitting here as a business owner with employees and business partners and an office and all of this pressure, but also progressing towards something that you're trying to achieve. Like, what does that look like? What are you trying to achieve from the business?
So the business originally created from kind of being restrained in my employment. So it provides me flexibility. Not as much flexibility as people say, because although you can work the hours you want, you still have clients to answer to and employees to manage. And not quite as flexible as one would think. But I'm kind of in control, and I guess that's what it gives me, a bit of control to run things how I want. And then I do get to balance, being a mum 2 days a week and being a business owner 3 days a week. And
so you get 2 days with the girls?
Yeah, I'm 2 days with the girls. So
oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm in the office Monday, Tuesday, Friday at the moment, and then Wednesday, Thursday I'm semi-detached, checking my emails a bit, but otherwise, I'm with the girls, I'm present, and
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because I know with our eldest, I did Thursdays with her every day until she went to school, every Thursday with her. But I felt so much pressure from external sources in terms of clients and work that I don't think I got to appreciate that as much as I wish I had. Do you feel the same, or you're able to try and disconnect the two?
I've done it from the get-go. So I think that I'm able to enjoy it. There are some days where urgent things come through and it's quite hard to juggle both, because I do have people in the office that can give me a hand, but some things just need my eyes. And those days are hard because I can't feel like I can be present, but I need to be to both things. So that is a juggle, just one of those things. But on the majority of the side, I can be present and switch off. At least we have still a midday nap for my youngest and quiet time for my eldest, so I can kind of check in then properly, and then it works well.
It's amazing when you are in that position how efficient you are with your time.
Yes.
Before
and your delegation.
Delegation time, you just go, before you go, I'm just busy or whatever it might be, and now as a parent and a business owner, you're like, I need to achieve this by the end of the day. Yes. Or by the end of the week.
And how I thought I was busy or tired before. You just want to go back and shake yourself and be like, you have no idea.
Yeah, you almost need to relive it back again and just imagine what you could achieve in those
definitely
20s generally for most people.
Yes.
Yeah. And you've come at the back end of May, or we're getting into back end of May, and so it's been big tax time, and no doubt you've got a lot of those pressures and deadlines.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like that, this time of year must be almost the hardest.
Yeah, it's definitely the pinnacle where the big deadline is due for most companies and individuals that are payable and super funds, they're all due 15 May unless they have an earlier date, which is if they're a high taxpayer, or it's less common. So yes, so we're busy, and then we also have our March BASs due on the 26th of May. So it's just they kind of hit us all at once, and
That's
juggling
a good reminder.
both. Yes, yes. So that one is but we're working through it and doing our best, and we've got some extensions to get us through, and hopefully that all ties in and the clients get all their stuff and we can all be ready for next year.
And do it all again.
Do it all again.
What's a typical client within the business?
So most of my clients I've had for a long time, and they all differ slightly, but usually, so they're high net worth individuals, usually, my long-term clients, and the businesses that come with them. So their family groups and their business. So that really differs. So we have clients in the health and fitness industry. We have clients that are engineers. We have clients that are dentists. A whole range of things. So it keeps it kind of interesting. Always staying across like different industries and businesses, and whatever the client's doing with their life, personally and in business, we follow along kind of that journey. And no two clients are really the same. But
I imagine there's a lot of strategies that you'd almost implement that are quite similar.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, because there's I almost feel that from our perspective in terms of lending, and there's certainly no two client situations that are the same. I still haven't had that, but there's so much around the strategies that are very similar. Yeah,
if you can have it's tricky because the effective strategy can be the same for different people, but you do really need to know the situation, and it's really nice to bounce ideas when you are doing strategies, because something that can be perfect for one person, if you tweak it a little bit, it can be even better for the next person. Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of those things that Angela, my business partner, we love to run through, no matter how simple it seems. But you can almost want to always do like a trust company kind of setup, but then sometimes, you need a unit trust, or you need the trust to be the trading entity to get different benefits, and it keeps you on your toes.
It does.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm finding is this: people are really trying to absorb this information at the moment around anything to do with lending or tax or financial planning. And I find that almost conflicting, because there's conflicting information, and it might just be this 10-second grab that someone's listened to and they said, oh, I want to implement that. Family trusts for lending is a really common question at the moment. And the idea that a lot of people are getting now is that you can borrow as much as you want if you do a family trust. Which isn't actually the case.
No, I wouldn't think so.
It's just not the case. But people are grabbing hold of it and they're wanting to do it. From a family trust perspective, who do you generally see using that type of structure?
For me, my first thoughts is for a shareholder for a company. It's definitely something common I'm setting up. And that just provides that person flexibility in the future. Access to CGT concessions, and the biggest thing, is the flexibility. So if they sell their company in 10 years, they don't know who's going to be earning what. It just gives us some flexibility. And otherwise, it would be for businesses that want to trade via a trust, and they don't want a company structure, or they want a company structure but as a bucket company. That can be common. And then also for home ownership, so for investments, typically for investments, but I do have several clients that have their home as a trust as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Why would you set that up? What would be the pros of doing that?
So those ones I haven't personally set up. I've just managed the past kind of 7+ years. And it comes down to their individual circumstances, so the risk around them personally with their career or their life, talking relationships and that kind of thing, and also financially. So a few situations, the people that have done that are engineers, and they've kind of done these big spreadsheets and forecasts and worked out that the ability to claim all the costs for their home over the years outweighs any CGT main residence exemption and the land tax they then have to pay. So, yeah, quite interesting. I haven't done all the calculations to assess whether I agree or not. And with all the unknowns, it wouldn't be my first strategy. But yeah, it's interesting.
You've got to love an engineer that comes to you with a spreadsheet. I have so many of them, and they pull their spreadsheet out, and you go, "You're obviously an engineer." And they go, "How did you know?"
Oh, you just pick them. We've had so many clients that we talk about, and we're like, "Are they an engineer?" Yeah. They're just different. I love my engineer clients. The attention to detail I can appreciate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're different breed.
They're a different breed that I love because they love the detail. And there's nothing wrong with asking questions and providing the detail to them as well.
Definitely, yeah.
Which I enjoy.
No question is silly. I respect anyone that, asks anything and everything.
And I was just thinking, like, from a ownership perspective, you wouldn't get the CGT exemption if it was in the name of the trust as your principal place of residence, right?
Yeah, you miss out on that completely. Yeah, it's a big call to make.
Yeah. I guess you're trying to weigh up everything that happens in the future, which is also so unpredictable as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not the safest strategy. I wouldn't recommend anyone jumping into that. But each to their own. Sometimes people, have some ideas that they want to back, and we'll talk it through.
Yeah, and I guess in terms of if we're looking at CGT, like capital gains tax,
yes,
one of the big focal points that people are seeing or reading about at the moment is the 6-year rule and having the ability to sell your principal place of residence within a 6-year period. But it's not quite as clear cut as what people believe it to be. What would be the simple version of the capital gains tax exemption from that perspective?
So the 6-year rule, firstly, you need to, it's in relation to your main residence exemption, you need to be living in the property for it to come into play. So you need to at least live there for one day, preferably longer. Preferably have a record of you living there, some kind of mail or utilities. But once you live there, it's your main residence. You can then move out of the property, and the 6-year rule can apply if you are using the property for income producing purposes. So if you rent the property, you can rent that property for up to 6 years without it affecting your main residence exemption. And then there's a lot of things that come into it. So you can move back in to extend the 6 years. If you're not using the property for income producing, you can be vacant from the property indefinitely, so there's no 6 years. And then you also can't have another property at the same time as having that one for the 6 years being exempt. You can only have one main residence at a time unless some other things apply, like you're building a house. Yes, so there's other exceptions, but so that's the basis of it, that you can rent it out for 6 years and still claim a full exemption. And you get an uplift to the market value at the point initially that you start to use it for income producing, so that can be really helpful. So if you surpass the 6 years, your cost base is then increased. And then if you do exceed the 6 years, you then pay a proportionate CGT. You get exempt for that period, and the rest, so you don't lose it.
Is it true that exemption was created or was there to benefit politicians and their ability to move areas? Is that what it was originally?
I've not heard that. It could be. But I would, from my perspective, it was always designed to benefit investment properties, people that are expanding. That's who's going to benefit from that. If you own a home and you start renting it out, it's just kind of like a freebie. You get 6 years.
But I guess where do you then live in the meantime?
So you could be renting, and then you would get the full benefit. You could be travelling, you could be overseas, and otherwise you could be in a property that isn't rising as high. So you get to kind of choose if you are moving into a property and that property gains in value. You would obviously then choose the new property to be your main resident. But if that's a lower growing kind of area, then you wouldn't. It gives you a choice, a bit of flexibility. It's kind of a weird one, I guess.
It's so interesting because there's so many different ways it could apply or not apply as well.
Yeah. And it is confusing whenever I do that for clients, which is often. I always go back to the legislation because there are differences in if you lived in the property and you then, say if you used it for investment, then lived in the property, it just changes the calculation completely.
Yeah.
It can get quite complex. It's something I review in detail every time.
Yeah, especially with the ATO, right? Like you want to make sure it's spot on. Because it's a really common thing from our perspective that someone's living in a property and then they are wanting to upgrade. And we have this desire in Australia to own property. And a lot of people say, well, let's just keep the existing property and rent that out so that we become investors because they've gone and bought another one and now they're renting out this one. And it's quite fascinating discussing with people around the benefits and the negatives to doing that and whether that property is still increasing in value or whether you actually want to be a landlord because it's not all it's cracked up to be in a lot of cases.
Yeah, it can be a lot of costs.
A lot of costs and not quite the rental return that you were hoping for. And you've probably got more debt on your new home now because of that scenario. So that's such a common one for the people we're helping at the moment. Just that demographic of wanting to upgrade.
Yes. Yeah, nothing's clear cut. You need to really go back in every situation and weigh it up. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't recommend using the 6-year rule just because you can. Yeah, you need to give it some thought and make a choice.
Yeah, absolutely. What else do you find that you get asked a lot? What are some of those common questions that people are saying, hey, Drew, how do I do this, or what does this mean?
So I have thought in my years of business, I do have the same conversation with people a lot. Yeah, which is always quite funny. Different situation, but kind of exact same answer can apply. Depreciation is something that really confuses people, individuals. They can't wrap their head around it. So that's one that people always ask about.
Depreciation for their assets in the business or them as individuals?
For properties, yeah. So if we're talking investment properties, depreciation can be a bit confusing. And I think that, people hear it, negative gearing, and there's a lot of questions around that. And I always say, first of all, if you are renting a property and you can depreciate it, you definitely want a depreciation report, because they will just give you bang for your buck and make sure you're claiming the most. But then otherwise with negative gearing, I don't know your stance on it, but I'm always a bit like, just remember you're spending $1 to save X amount of tax. So you're always, tax is a percentage, so you wouldn't go out. And I think in deductions in general, certain clients really struggle to understand that concept of, oh, but I get a tax deduction. I'm like, yeah, but you still spent $1 to save your 30%. So that's a funny one that, people get confused at, which is totally fair. It's not their industry, and it's my job. And then in businesses, the first kind of year or so getting started in a business, it's really confusing of what's a business cost and what's business income. I think that one's a bit clearer, income, but of course people get confused, what can I claim and what can't I? And then slowly after a bit of experience, they get a bit more comfortable with that. But definitely structuring is the biggest way that we can help. So when something, and I always say to people, like, if you're buying something or if you're changing something, just talk to me first. Please. If you go and buy it, or if you go and do something and then you say to me, hey, we did this, is that right? When I turn around and say no, there's nothing we can do without incurring CGT or stamp duty. So, try and stress that a lot to my clients. Talk to me first. If you're buying a car, if you're doing anything, let's have a quick chat.
True.
That 5 minutes can save you a lot of money.
It can. It's the first thing I'm talking to someone about when they're talking about investing. I want to buy an investment property. Which entity? What do you mean? Well, is it in your name, in your partner's name? Have you set up another entity to purchase the property? I don't know. Please go and talk to your accountant, please, because as soon as you've written that on that contract of sale,
that's it.
Stamp duty can apply.
Yeah. I have had recently a couple of clients buy properties and then say, this is what I've done. And I've said, okay, I would have recommended this, because then we can distribute the income to you at the end of the year. And they go, oh, can we still do that? And I'm like, no, it needs to go to the owners. So the owners you chose is this. And it's one of those things that I'm like, Shame.
Yeah, the big decisions. And it's quite amazing how quickly people can rush into it because of the emotions of it.
Yeah, and especially with property, I think there's that feeling of that it's going to go. And depending on the market, that pressure of I've got to be fast, but please take your time.
And
due diligence.
Depending on the advice as well, like just make sure you get the right advice. Negative gearing one is such an interesting proposition. We had a really good discussion with Neil Gibb, who does HMO properties, and it's all around positively geared properties. And the notion that you're trying to buy an asset just to lose money doesn't make sense. Obviously, there's a benefit to it in the long run if you're trying to get capital growth.
You hope so.
You hope so. Exactly. And so if you're outlaying costs on a regular basis for the property, you just really hope it's going to go up in value.
Yeah, I've definitely done a few capital gains calculations where they've bought, I think it was around 2013, there was a really high bubble, and then they've held for this long and they've either made a loss or made nothing, and I'm like, and if you calculate the interest that and all the costs every year, you are hoping for capital growth. It's not guaranteed. So negative gearing can be really good, but it's not a one-fits-all strategy.
It's not. It's such a buzzword.
It is.
It's such a buzzword, and I'm fascinated by generally the people that bring it to you saying, "All right, I want to buy a negatively geared property." Why? What's the purpose of that? So it's that comes up a lot on our end as well.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Especially when it's a high interest rate environment.
Yeah.
Because when rates were 2%, positively geared property might have been possible. But all of a sudden now your interest costs have doubled. It's not quite as possible as what it was.
Yeah, and the government's always threatening, about depreciation. So I always have a fear, that if that did change, people will be, losing actual money as well. Yeah.
As in changing the rules around depreciation for investment properties.
Yeah. It's
really?
kind of threatened. It's not happened, but there was a change, which was a pretty big change. I think it was 2017, where if it wasn't used as an investment property, you can't claim all the depreciation, only the capital works, which was a really big change. So that reduced the depreciation claim for most people significantly. But it's one of those things I always hear being threatened. Yeah, so it's interesting. It fills me with a bit of fear.
Especially when you're buying an asset for the long-term hold. You don't quite know what's going to happen. Self-managed super funds.
Yes.
Are they as common as what people would make out to be, or is it not as common as what you'd think?
Interesting. It depends on the client and the demographic you're working with. I definitely hesitate and caution people to jump into self-managed super funds. And from two perspectives, I caution, it's the cost. So if you run a self-managed super fund, you're kind of looking at accounting fees of around $3,000 a year just to do your annual return and your audit. And that's probably light on other firms. It could be a lot more. And then it's the investment. So with the self-managed super funds I've seen over the years, people get a lot more control. Obviously, that's the point of it, of what they're investing in. But it makes me feel a little bit nervous about their long-term kind of retirement savings.
Because they're doing it themselves? Or?
Because they have so much choice on what they're invested in. And so then in some cases, people have utilised that structure to then have an office or a property they're using for their business, which is great. But does that property bring you the return that your super in your industry fund may have returned for you? Remains to be seen. And then there is so much regulation with self-managed super funds that it takes a particular person to do it well. If you're someone that can't meet deadlines or that is irresponsible with money, don't recommend it. Taking loans from your super fund just creates massive headaches and massive fees, and can be great, but proceed with caution. And also, I would recommend that the people that do go with that strategy have the funds to back it, to kind of make all those fees worthwhile if you're would never recommend a self-managed super fund for anyone with less than 100 or 2,000, 200,000 in their balance.
Yeah, it's, I certainly get that.
Never say never.
Never say never. But I do get a lot of the lending side, because you can obviously borrow to purchase a property with you in your super fund. So it is possible, and so there are a lot of questions that come up with that, and it's generally from people that can't afford to borrow money to buy an investment property outside of super.
It can be great, and particularly with that strategy of having a business property. When you pay your rent, you're paying yourself super. It's a nice feeling. Like, you'd feel really good as long as you're diversified. That's not my lane, but it would be my personal advice. It can work amazingly in certain situations.
Yeah, and where to for the business? Like, where do you see the next 5 years going for?
So the business, I think after the first year or so, we've never advertised. We haven't needed to. It's all kind of based on referrals and from clients, and then kind of our network. So the people that we deal with on a daily, weekly kind of basis, lawyers, mortgage brokers such as yourself, insurance brokers. People have somebody that has a need, and we can fill that. So that's kind of how the business works. I'm not actively growing it, but it just grows organically. So just keeping up with that growth. We are looking to hire someone in the very near future. We just hired an accountant as well recently. And so just maintaining and organically growing slowly, hopefully.
Keeping your head above water.
Yeah, keeping our head above water for this phase of life. It's a busy phase, and maintaining just our service standards and doing the best job we can. And that does mean some more people in the office to help us do that. So,
How do you manage that time? Like, it's quite challenging when you've got the demands of home and business.
Yeah, and since moving to school, the pre-kindy hours were just a little bit longer, and definitely just having to make some adjustments. So I used to get my exercise in during like work hours, and now I just have to have daddy daycare on to be able to exercise outside of work hours so I can be more focused. And then delegating a little bit more, being more diligent with staying on top of things, prioritizing kind of getting things done.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a real challenge. We have such high expectations of ourselves as well with the service that we want to deliver to our clients. And obviously a day or two that goes by is quite important in a 14-day finance clause. And so trying to manage the time to get all of that done whilst also being a present father and husband is, I find, really challenging.
Yeah. I don't think that the work environment was ever built for parents.
The school system definitely wasn't.
Definitely not. So we're all just doing our best. And I think, having a bit of a team is really helpful, and just clear communication, and just being able to juggle. And some like stress-reducing strategies outside of work is,
What are your stress-reducing strategies?
So they would be, I do reformer Pilates, and so my teacher kicks our butt. So it's, that's a good kind of hour that I get out some frustration and also some calm. I have done yoga in the past few years as well, which is, kind of exercise, I guess. And then also just being out of the house, like getting some fresh air, going for walks. I would walk my 2 dogs more, but they're really naughty, so I go for solo walks and they stay home.
How nice is a solo walk without any technology?
Yes.
It's bliss.
Yes, definitely. I mean, a bit of music I love, but no kids and no dogs, that's bliss, some peace. I walk with the kids and dogs, often, and not as stress relieving.
Yeah, I try and take our dog out in the early morning, and sometimes our 2-year-old wakes up at that same time. And the difference between the mornings I get to just go for that walk with our dog and the difference with our 2-year-old and my stress levels afterwards
definitely
very different.
Definitely.
Come back and You're carrying
Your
everything.
nerves are shot.
Oh, my nerves. I'm carrying 3 babies. I'm carrying a fake dog. I'm carrying a lead. You go, well, that wasn't what I was hoping for.
Yes, definitely.
And I love finishing on being proud of ourselves because I feel that we don't get to talk about that as much as we should, especially when you're living in this fast-paced environment as a business owner, as a parent. And we're really trying to get our daughters to talk about how proud they are of themselves. And I love hearing that. Yeah. And then I've started doing it with guests, and watching someone's eyes light up when they're talking about it is really special. So, long-winded way of saying, what are you proud of professionally, personally?
So professionally would definitely be the education that I kind of undertook. So I didn't see myself as being, I was always, naturally smart, but I didn't see myself as academic. So being able to do all the things I did and 10 years of study.
Was it 10 years of study?
Yeah, 10 years. I did, an undergrad, my CA, which is 3 years, and my Masters of Tax, and then the units that come after that as well, just staying on top of your game. So I am proud of becoming an expert kind of in my field, for sure. And and other than that, it's kind of the culture that we have in the office is that the biggest thing is I want people to feel comfortable, to be happy, not to feel stressed or under the pump 24/7 or feel they have to achieve certain things. We don't really monitor input so much. We kind of trust our employees that they have integrity and they're good people and they're doing the best they can on that given day. And as long as our work's getting done, we're all doing our best. That's what I'm happy with, and that makes me feel proud. So that other people their lives are happier for the environment that we kind of create. And then personally is definitely, obviously, my girls. Like, they put so much time and energy into them and building them up to be happy and grounded, and not always happy. Obviously, they're allowed to have their bossy demands, and their feelings, and just being present for that, and having the ability to be a present parent, which my career, if I was employed, probably wouldn't allow for. So I'm proud that I can do that.
Is there something that you're really proud about of paving the way for your daughters as well?
Oh gosh, I think they will supersede me in every way, I'm sure.
Yeah. But you're creating that path for them and showing them how to work hard and how to do this.
Yeah, definitely. I think at the moment they're quite segregated. Like on our Mother's Day card, how they give the prompts. My daughter says she loves me because I stay home. So I don't even think she registers. And when she said, what does mummy do for a living? Makes me lots of money, as in for her. So that's quite funny. But I think as they grow older, they'll realise that, I do have something that, I've built and that provides us, a certain level of, flexibility in life and makes me be able to be a present mum. And, I think they'll be proud. But, I think that they'll both achieve much more than I have, and in whatever way that they do. Yeah.
It's always that hard thing of trying to raise these strong, independent women.
And dealing with that on a daily basis.
I cannot wait to let you out into the world because you're going to own it.
Yeah, you're gonna be fine.
But we've just got to make sure that we can sustain that through the years that you're with us. So
yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I've really enjoyed it. I think having a really strong relationship with an accountant is so important for everyone that's listening, and it's the basis for a lot of the work that I do as well. It's like buying investment property, debt recycling. How do you do that? What does it look like? You're running a business. How do you do that? Go see your accountant. I don't have one. There's some fantastic ones out there. So,
and it takes a team of people. So people need to stay in their lane, and a good advisor knows what they can and can't do, and kind of giving their expertise and working with that team of people for their expertise. I think that's when people get the best service.
Absolutely, and thanks to Sarah for connecting us.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She is. So thanks for coming in. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of our community at That Backyard Property Podcast. We would love it if you could like, comment, or even share with a family member or a friend that might get something useful from today's episode. We can't wait to see you again next Tuesday.